All right, so looking at sails, the first section. So if you go below the boom, if you're looking at a sail straight on, it's kind of one-dimensional. So if you look at a sail, a lot of times I kind of have, when I'm sitting there, for whatever position you're in, you look at the shape of a sail, it kind of looks one-dimensional. If you kind of look up the sail, you can see a lot more. So I think it's important, when you're doing your pre-race tuning, or just doing a tuning section, or even sometimes during a race, every once in a while, if I feel a little slow or something, I'll do a quick look up the main. And the things I'm looking for are, we have, I really look at these, whether you have stripes or not, you can still see there's seams here. So you can still see the shape, but it's really much more obvious with the seams. I'm looking for kind of this overall depth, how deep this sail is, and we're going to get into a little bit more how you can tell. And then how far forward this draft is, how round it is up here. And I'm looking for how much twist we have, how hooked this batten is. So, if I'm taking a look at this sail right now, I'm thinking it's actually pretty eased. Here's the backstay. I know at the tightest, you can get it almost to the backstay. You have a lot of hook. I call that hook. I'm looking at this as the draft seems pretty far forward. Look at how round the very, very front edge of this is, how much all the shapes in this very, very front part of the sail. And I'm looking at it as fairly deep. So those two things would tell me we have a fairly straight mast. So the idea of this wasn't to critique the sail, but just to say, and none of those are necessarily bad or good. That's just what I see with this sail. And it's important to look at this every time you sail, because you need to be able to repeat things that seem to work. So if you're going really well, it's really good to say, wow, we're going fast. Let's, we just finished the race. Let's spend another 5 minutes and let's go take a look at what the sail really looks like. So if you look a little more specifically at a sail like this, so here's doing the stripes on the sail. This is how a sailmaker would analyze the shape of a sail. And your eye can do some of this, but if you take a photo, you can do this pretty well too. But first thing they do is draw a line between the luff and the leech. And then at some point is the maximum depth point. And that's a key point, because we're going to measure how far back the depth is and how deep it is based on that point. And these are always done as a percentage. So in this case, we measured it at 44% back. So it's almost 50%, but not quite. And then it's 14% depth. So that's this over this is 14%. So anyway, that's just kind of, once again, we're not talking about what the numbers mean, but just so you understand. The other thing that you kind of look at is the relative twist. And it's really done by these chords between the leech and the luff. And you'll see that the top one is twisted open more, and this bottom one would be even more hooked in. So the twist goes up as you go further up the sail, and that's true for both the main and the jib, and we'll explain why that goes on in a couple more slides. Oh, okay, I guess I got ahead of myself. So the difference here is the twist of the sail, so go on. So when a sailmaker does this, when you have our guys Garth on the West Coast or Ched Proctor analyzes the sail, they actually go through quite a few numbers, because once they put in a computer program, they can actually measure quite a few things. You can't really see the numbers here, but so what they've done is they just click on the stripes. That's what each of these little dots are. And the computer will draw the line. And from there, it does all the math. It draws this line, finds the max depth. And it's also, because it's doing that, it can actually measure the entry angle, the exit angle, and those can be all charted out. And that's what they do when they're really designing a sail. They'll take a look at it, and then they have some programs that could go in and try to optimize what that means. And so when they're first designing a sail, that's what they go through. This is an example of just a really open sail. So you see how open this leech is. I can't imagine ever sailing with that, but it just kind of points out, the most trim could be up to this backstay. And what I look at for that is really that top batten. Pretty much any boat I sail, I'm looking at that top batten. And on a practical standpoint, I'm also looking at this telltale that's off the top batten. And if it's a high leeway situation, lots of waves, looking for power off the starting line, I'll typically have that flowing like 90% of the time and stalling to leeward maybe 10. If it's flatter water, once we're up to speed, just trying to point, I'll have it stalled 90% of the time, maybe flowing only 10.